Have you ever noticed that your breathing has changed lately and no one can explain why? Doctors look at your scans and tell you that everything is perfectly normal with your lungs, but you know something is different. Those awkward pauses that come out of nowhere, deep breaths for no reason or worse, that unsettling feeling that you've become just a bystander while your body breathes on its own. The truth that no one tells you is that your breathing has not changed because you are sick. It has changed because you are evolving. And what I'm going to reveal to you now goes against everything you've been taught about spirituality. You don't need to meditate for years. You don't need to do retreats in the Himalayas. You don't need any enlightened guru to awaken the Kundalini. Sometimes she just wakes up on her own. And when that happens, her body warns you through 3 specific signals in her breath that are impossible to ignore. If at least 2 of these 3 signs are happening to you right now, get ready, because the sleeping serpent at the base of your spine has already woken up and is rising, and your life will never be the same. Leave in the comments the number of signs you felt, 1, 2, or 3, so we can understand how many people here already have active Kundalini without even knowing it. There's something going on with you that no one else can see, but your body has known for weeks, maybe months. Your breathing has changed in a way that doctors would call normal, but deep down you feel different, weird even. Those long pauses that come out of nowhere, deep inhales for no apparent reason, or that eerie feeling that you've become just an observer while your body breathes on its own. It's all no coincidence. The truth is, there's something gigantic going on right at the base of your spine, and your breath is screaming it out to you. The awakening of the Kundalini has already begun, and the signs in the breath are the clearest proof of this. Kundalini activation is not something you necessarily decide to make happen. Sometimes it just wakes up when your soul is ready, as if a cosmic alarm has gone off inside. And the first place where this manifests itself is precisely in the way the prana, this vital energy that enters and leaves you with each breath, begins to behave. Think about it. How many times in recent times have you stopped in the middle of a conversation, a job, and suddenly been hypnotized by your own breathing? How many times have you felt that the air coming in and out of your body had a different, almost magical quality? These aren't just random thoughts, they're physical evidence that Kundalini energy is moving up your chakras, reconfiguring every cell on the path. There are 3 specific signs in the Kundalini breath that, when they appear, leave no room for doubt. The sleeping snake has woken up and is rising. If you recognize at least 2 of these 3 respiratory Kundalini symptoms, brace yourself, because your perception of reality is about to change completely. We're not talking about vague mystical theory or superficial self-help. We're talking about real, measurable, energetic transformation that yogis have been documenting for millennia, and that modern neuroscience is finally beginning to understand. And it all starts with a simple question that will accompany you from now on. Are you really paying attention to what your breath is trying to tell you? Kundalini is not an abstract concept floating around in dusty esoteric books. It is a real, palpable, physical force that lives coiled at the base of your spine like a sleeping serpent, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Imagine a coil of pure energy concentrated in your root chakra, holding explosive potential that most people will never access in their entire lives. When this energy awakens, it literally travels up your spine, passing through each of the chakras as if it were unlocking doors that have been locked for years. And as the active Kundalini rises, it completely reconfigures your nervous system, your endocrine glands, and even the way you perceive the reality around you. It's not fiction. It's a bioenergetic process documented more than 5,000 years ago by yogis, and that today modern neuroscience can already detect through changes in brain waves. What makes Kundalini activation even more fascinating is that it doesn't happen in isolation. It's intimately connected with prana, that life energy that you absorb each time you breathe. Think of prana as the fuel and kundalini as the rocket. When the rocket ignites, it starts pulling the fuel in a completely different, more intense, more powerful way. That is why the first thing that changes when the kundalini energy awakens is precisely your breath. Because the prana that used to flow automatically and unconsciously is now being redirected, reorganized, potentiated. It's as if your body is learning a new way of breathing, not just physical air, but pure energy. And this change isn't subtle. When you know what to look for, it's obvious, visceral, impossible to ignore. The connection between Kundalini and the chakras also explains why Kundalini symptoms can be so varied and intense. As this energy rises, it encounters blockages, old traumas, crystallized emotional patterns in each energy center, and it needs to dissolve all of these along the way. It is a process of deep purification that moves the physical, emotional, and mental body at the same time. But before all this transformation happens on the subtlest levels, your body gives you a clear warning, an unmistakable sign that something monumental is in motion. And that sign appears first on your breath, because it is through it that prana enters and feeds all this inner revolution that is about to happen. You're in the middle of a random task, working on the computer, washing dishes, talking to someone, and suddenly something strange happens. You realize you're breathing, but you're not the one breathing. Your body inhales and exhales on its own, at its own pace, and you have become just a silent observer watching this process happen without controlling anything at all. It's not that conscious breathing that you do during a meditation when you deliberately pay attention to the air going in and out. That's different because the attention comes on its own, involuntary, almost as if someone has turned on an internal spotlight on your Kundalini breath. It's a strange, sometimes even unsettling feeling, as if you've stepped off autopilot and suddenly realized that there's a distance between you and your body. And this distance, as small as it is, changes everything. This phenomenon happens because the awakening of the Kundalini begins to temporarily separate your consciousness from the physical body. You cease to identify yourself completely with flesh and bones and start inhabiting your body as a driver inhabits a car, not as if you were the car itself. The Kundalini energy, as it rises through the chakras, expands its perception beyond the limits of the physical, and the first thing you notice is precisely this internal witness who watches the breath happen. It's as if a part of you has woken up and is now watching the show of your own body at work. Sometimes it lasts a few seconds, sometimes whole minutes, and you're standing there mesmerized, fascinated by the simplicity and the complexity of something you've been doing since you were born, but never really seeing it happen that way. What's interesting is that the more the active Kundalini advances, the more frequent these moments of conscious automatic breathing become. Not because you're trying to provoke them, but because your consciousness is naturally expanding. You may be driving and suddenly realize that your body has been breathing on its own for miles as you just watch. You may be in a meeting and have to make an effort to reconnect with the conversation because your attention has been pulled inward to prana going in and out at a pace that seems to have its own intelligence. And the natural tendency is to try to control, to go back to command. But the secret here is just the opposite. To let it happen, to allow this new layer of consciousness to settle in, because it is showing you that you are much more than this breathing body. Suddenly you take a deep breath naturally, and instead of exhaling right away, as you have always done your whole life, your body simply stops. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, sometimes a full 20 seconds, without you having decided to hold your breath. And the strangest thing, there's no discomfort. There's not that desperate urge for air that you'd feel if you were holding your breath on purpose. It's as if time has frozen, as if your body has entered a cosmic pause where the need for oxygen has simply disappeared. This is not a respiratory problem. It is kumbhaka, the spontaneous retention that happens when Kundalini energy is active and profoundly modifying the way prana circulates in your system. The ancient yogis recognized this phenomenon as one of the clearest signs that the sleeping serpent has woken up and is rising. The difference between consciously holding your breath and experiencing natural kumbhaka is abysmal. When you decide to hold your breath, there's effort, there's tension, there's an anxious mental count waiting for the moment to let go. But when the Kundalini causes these spontaneous breathing pauses, it is as if your body enters an altered state, where the normal rules of breathing simply no longer apply. You may be sitting, reading, walking down the street, taking a shower, and suddenly realize that it's been 15 seconds since your last breath, and you haven't even missed your breath. It's almost as if your body has discovered an alternative source of energy, a way to nourish itself directly from universal prana without relying so much on physical oxygen. And in fact, that's exactly what's happening. When the activation of the Kundalini reaches certain levels, your body literally begins to access life energy directly from the ether, from what yogis call cosmic prana, an inexhaustible source that is everywhere, all the time. That's why the pauses happen without suffocation, because in those frozen seconds, you're not depending on the air in your lungs, you're drinking energy from a more subtle dimension. Some describe the sensation as being submerged in a pool of light, others as being suspended between two worlds, but all agree on one point. During the spontaneous kumbhaka, there is a deep peace, an inner silence so complete that it seems that even the thoughts have stopped moving. And when the breath finally returns, smooth and natural, you realize that something has changed, that you have touched for an instant in a reality where your body knows secrets that your mind is still trying to understand. You notice that you're breathing harder through one nostril, and a few minutes later, for no apparent reason, the breath completely switches to the other side. And you're not cold, you're not congested, there's no physical reason why this is happening. This cycle of nasal alternation happens naturally in everyone throughout the day. It is a biological rhythm called the ultradian nasal cycle that most people don't even notice. But when the Kundalini awakens, this cycle intensifies in such an obvious way, so striking, that it becomes impossible to ignore. Sometimes it feels like one nostril literally closes energetically while the other opens like a floodgate, and you can feel the prana flowing with a different potency on each side. It is as if two currents of energy have awakened within you, alternating the command of your Kundalini breath in a deliberate and intelligent way. This is because Kundalini energy does not ascend the spine in a straight line. It ascends through two main energetic channels called nadis, specifically the Ida, left side, lunar energy, feminine, and the Pingala, right side, solar energy, masculine. When the active Kundalini begins to move, it literally ignites these two rivers of energy that spiral up your spine, and spontaneous alternate breathing is the physical reflection of this happening behind the energetic backstage. So, when you feel the dominant left nostril, it's the Ida that's most active at that moment. When the right takes over, it is the Pingala that took the lead. And the most amazing thing is that you can feel it not only in your nostrils, but sometimes you notice a different sensation of warmth on each side, or a subtle current going up the side of your spine, as if two strands of light are weaving something inside you. Some people report that they can even predict changes in their emotional and mental state by observing which nostril is dominant. When the left side is more active, there is a tendency for introspection, calmness, receptivity. When the law takes over, more energy, focus, action comes. This is no coincidence. It is the natural dance between the chakras and the nadis expressing themselves through your breath. And the more you observe this pattern without trying to control it, the more evident it becomes that there is a deep intelligence orchestrating everything. The Kundalini energy knows exactly what it is doing, alternating the prana currents to balance, purify, and uplift your entire system. What was once an invisible process has now become a constant communication that your body is having with you, showing you in real time what is happening at the subtlest levels of your existence. The connection between Kundalini and prana is so deep that it is impossible to talk about one without mentioning the other. They are like two sides of the same energetic coin that sustains their existence. The Kundalini is the potential, static, concentrated and dormant energy at the base of your spine, holding an immense power, waiting for the right moment to be released. Prana, on the other hand, is the moving, dynamic energy that enters your body with each inhale and exits with each exhale, keeping you alive and connected with the universe every second. When the awakening of the Kundalini happens, it's as if someone lights a giant rocket inside you, and that rocket needs fuel to rise, and the fuel is just prana. That is why your breathing changes so radically, because the prana that used to flow automatically and without a specific purpose is now being pulled, reorganized, potentiated to feed the ascent of the energetic serpent. Think of a real rocket about to be launched. Before launch, the fuel is stored quietly in the tanks, flowing at a normal pace through the systems. But at the moment of ignition, everything changes. Fuel consumption explodes, systems go into overdrive, and every drop of energy is redirected to a single mission: to go up. This is exactly what happens to you when the activation of the Kundalini begins. Your body is not defective, it is not sick, it is not failing. It is upgrading, learning to process energy on a completely new level. The strange breathing, the inexplicable pauses, the intense alternation between nostrils, all of these are Kundalini symptoms of a system that is evolving from the third dimension into something much greater. Your Kundalini breathing is no longer just about exchanging oxygen for carbon dioxide. It has become a bridge between the physical and the energetic. The most advanced yogis, those who have spent decades consciously working with Kundalini energy, are able to live with minimal, sometimes barely noticeable breaths because they have learned to access prana directly from the cosmic source without relying so much on physical air. And you are now beginning this process. Every strange breath you feel is concrete evidence of a real energetic evolution happening within you. It's not imagination. It's not placebo, it's not mystical theater, it's measurable transformation that's reconfiguring your chakras, your nadis, and even the way your cells process energy. And the most beautiful part of it all is that your body knows exactly what to do. It has this energetic manual imprinted in its DNA for millennia, and now finally the pages are being opened. The first and most important thing you need to understand when you recognize these signs in your breath is simple. Don't try to control it. The natural temptation will be to want to fix the breath, to bring it back to the old pattern that seemed safer, more familiar, but that would be like trying to put out a rocket that has already been launched. Not only is it useless, but it can create unnecessary resistance in the process. Let the breath do exactly what it wants. If it stops, let it stop. If it accelerates, let it accelerate. If she alternates between her nostrils intensely, simply observe without interfering. The active Kundalini has its own intelligence, an internal GPS that knows exactly where it needs to go and what it needs to clear in each chakra. Your role here is not that of a pilot trying to control the flight. It's that of a confident passenger watching the journey unfold, knowing that the destination is the expansion of your consciousness. And don't be afraid. This is perhaps the most liberating instruction anyone can give you when Kundalini symptoms begin to appear on the breath. Fear creates contraction, and contraction blocks the natural flow of Kundalini energy trying to rise. Breathing changes can seem strange, sometimes even scary, when you don't know what's going on. But now you know, it's evolution, not dysfunction. Make the process easier by doing gentle pranayama when you feel like it. Nothing forced, nothing aggressive, just mindful and gentle breaths that help harmonize prana without trying to master what is happening. Hydrate yourself a lot too, because the Kundalini rising generates real internal heat, and your body needs water to help dissipate that energy and keep everything balanced. Think of water as a natural coolant for the energy system that is working at high temperatures. Respect deeply when your body asks for rest. Kundalini activation is no joke. It is one of the most intense processes a human being can experience, and sometimes you will feel inexplicable fatigue, a need to lie down, to be quiet, to simply stop everything. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of wisdom from your body telling you that it needs time to integrate the changes that are happening behind the energetic backstage. And here's a practical tip that can completely change your relationship with this process. Write down the patterns. Grab a notebook, open a note on your phone, and record when changes in Kundalini breathing happen. What time of day, what you were doing, how you felt during and after. Over time, you will begin to see clear patterns. You will understand that Kundalini energy has its own cycles and rhythms, and this knowledge will give you a sense of control not over the process, but over your own journey of transformation. Your breath never lies. It is the most honest oracle you have, whispering truths about what is happening in the deepest layers of your energetic existence. If you have felt any of these three signs, the conscious automatic breathing, where you become a witness to your own body breathing, the spontaneous pauses that freeze time without causing discomfort, or the intense nasal alternation that reveals the nadis working, your Kundalini is already active, even if you have never done a spiritual practice in your life. Sometimes it awakens on its own when the soul decides that the time has come, when the universe determines that you are ready to take the next evolutionary step. And there's no turning back. There's no turning it off. The serpent has woken up, and now the only way is up, going through every chakra, dissolving every blockage, expanding every boundary you thought you had. You now have a powerful tool in your hands, the ability to observe your breath and know in each moment what is happening energetically within you. When the Kundalini breath becomes strange, you no longer have to be lost, wondering if you're going crazy or if you should go to a doctor. You know that it is the Kundalini energy working, purifying, uplifting. When pauses happen, you recognize the natural kumbhaka and allow your body to access cosmic prana. When the nostrils alternate, you understand that it is the dancing nadis, Ida and Pingala, weaving the spiral of light that will take you to dimensions of consciousness that you still don't even imagine exist. Your breath has become a real-time energy meter, an internal compass always pointing in the direction of your own transformation. If you recognize two or more of these signs while reading this text, leave a little snake in the comments. This will help you consolidate what you have learned and will also create a community of people who are going through the same journey of Kundalini awakening. And subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning. In the next content, I will teach you how to consciously work with this energy, how to facilitate the process of climbing through the chakras, how to deal with the most intense Kundalini symptoms that may appear, and above all, how to transform this awakening into practical wisdom that really changes your life. The Kundalini is not something you do, it is something you allow, and your breath is showing you the way with every inhale, every pause, every cycle that completes between your nostrils. Now that you know these three signs in the breath that prove that the Kundalini is active, the question that remains is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you continue to ignore the messages that your body is screaming every day? Or will you finally start paying attention, observing, consciously working with this energy that is transforming you from within? Think with me. How many people spend their entire lives seeking spiritual awakening in books, courses, expensive workshops, and can never feel anything concrete, while you, right now, have the physical evidence happening with every breath. You are literally sitting on top of an energetic gold mine, and you may not have even realized it until this moment. So I challenge you, for the next 24 hours, stop at least 3 times and watch your breathing, not to control, but to witness. See if you can catch any of these signals happening live. Write down what you felt, and above all, ask yourself with total honesty, am I ready to let this energy transform me, or am I still afraid to let go of control and trust the process? If you really want to master this awakening, if you want to learn practical techniques to work with Kundalini energy without fear and without resistance, if you want to understand how to facilitate the passage through the chakras and use this force to elevate each area of your life, then subscribe now to the channel and activate the notification bell, because in the next few videos I'm going to dive deep into the Kundalini symptoms that most ignore. I'm going to teach you specific pranayamas that harmonize prana during the ascent, and I'm going to share the most common mistakes people make when the Kundalini awakens, mistakes that can create serious energetic blockages and delay years of your evolution. You've already taken the first step by recognizing the signs on the breath. Now don't let that wisdom die here. Keep walking, keep learning, keep transforming. The Kundalini has already woken up in you. The only question left is, will you keep up with her pace, or will you be left behind?